Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lawyer Interviews. We have a familiar face with us. Welcome back, Tamar Arminak.
Hi, great to be back.
Tamar, it is always a pleasure talking with you. We had some very exciting, dramatic developments since we've last spoke. Probably most world shattering was over this last weekend, the failed assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. It's going to be a moment in history books in the future, I believe.
Absolutely. Unbelievable moment, shocking. And just looking back at even the photographs that came out of that moment, scary, horrifying, and really, yeah, one for the history books, definitely.
Yeah, and it's garnered a lot of reactions, all kinds of reactions,
Yep.
and I'd say one that you see mostly from the right is you know Democrats, Joe Biden, the left, people to blame for causing violent rhetoric, inflammatory rhetoric that would cause someone to become this crazed person who would attempt such a thing.
Yes.
So, just picking your legal brain here, could someone be liable for inciting violence that would ultimately lead to the assassination of of a presidential candidate?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. Maybe the answer is it depends. The usual attorney answer. It depends. This is familiar sort of jargon that we've been dealing with since January 6th, actually, because it was flipped and it's been flipped over the
Mm-hmm.
course of the last almost 4 years, where the one party blamed the other for political rhetoric and inciting. The word inciting has been sort of in our vernacular a lot
Mm-hmm.
over the last years, inciting political violence. And now we are hearing it from the other side. And there is something to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can look at it objectively and say there is something to um, fanning the flames that somehow reaches to people, like in this case, that we now know are not always well. And if it reaches the wrong person who
Mm-hmm.
has access to weapons or access to or the ability to inflict violence or any sort of it, it could happen. It could be a hacker, for example. Anyone that can inflict pain on others, it's a problem. And I think that, yeah, we should, just as a general sort of opinion, anyone with a microphone should be careful what they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side, the legal side of that is our First Amendment rights. And that's something that we as a country have been grappling with since I think the First Amendment was written and sealed in the books. And so the question becomes, is that political speech immunized? Does one party or even one individual have immunity? And I think that the answer is yes. Yes, that there is no real nexus of connection between someone giving a political speech and a 20-year-old, who we now know, very disturbed man,
Mm-hmm.
hearing that and taking that as a call to inflict harm on the former president. So the nexus isn't there, I don't think. And also, our Constitution allows broad protection over speech in general, and especially political speech.
Hmm. So in a hypothetical, in our this deranged individual has some manifesto, let's say they pull out of his pocket, and he said, "I watched Joe Biden's speech, and that time he said that word, I was like, that's it. I'm gonna go kill Trump now." Does
Yeah.
that is that a nexus, or what would be an
No,
example? Not even.
no, the nexus would be something similar to, go if you have a gun, go commit the assassination,
Mm,
something very close to that.
mm-hmm,
We know that we couldn't necessarily have it pass constitutional muster to say go to the Capitol and get up there and do what's right, right? I mean, I
Right.
don't have the exact words with me
Yeah.
now, but do what's right.
I'll be
Didn't
right there with you. Let's
I'll
go.
be right there with you.
Yeah.
Didn't mean that you should go and storm and threaten to hang the vice president that day.
Hmm.
There was no nexus there, and there was definitely protection over that political speech. And
Hmm.
I haven't heard of any specific Biden or Biden adjacent speech that would cause someone to encourage someone to commit an assassination.
Right. Yeah.
It's a horrible situation.
Yeah, horrible. I think just
Horrible.
emotionally charged. People want to say that this
Yeah.
is the to blame on the other side, and legally speaking, like you're mentioning, it's hard to make that connection.
Yes.
Now, also unprecedented, just what was able to happen, total meltdown, failure of the Secret Service,
Yeah.
of the whatever coordination they had with the local police. Definitely people are outraged
Yeah.
that this was able to happen. My own personal question, maybe you know this, Secret Service, that they are serving at the will of the current president.
Well, no, I mean, it's funny because former President Trump is, and now current candidate Trump, and
Yep.
perhaps soon to be President Trump, we don't know, has his own Secret Service detail and has a lifetime Secret Service
Right.
detail because he's a former president. So, I don't know which of those individuals we saw on the reel that we keep watching that is just a mess. I don't know who has been assigned to him as part of his protection for being a former president or who was new that day at the rally. But he has Secret Service protection, and that is given to him
Hmm.
by the government, the United States of America, just like it is for President Obama, President Bush, and President Clinton.
Right.
And arguably, anyone, and President Biden, if he
Oh.
should not win. So the Secret Service is a form of protection through the federal government that is given and afforded to every former and current president. In fact, the Secret Service also defends and protects the children and relatives of former presidents and others in the government that require protection. It's not President Biden's Secret Service, and it's
Mm.
not President Trump's Secret Service. They are government officials, and it is an agency of the federal government. So, who can fire and hire and correct the mess that we saw? That would be the agency itself.
Hmm.
I imagine that there may be congressional hearings
Hmm.
at some point regarding the mishap that we saw, the breakdown in protection, the breakdown of communication,
Yep.
and it may not just be a Secret Service problem. It may be a local government issue, a local police force issue as well. But there was definitely a horrific breakdown
Hmm.
in the protection that should have been given that day, and someone died. Someone lost his
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Horrible. Really horrible stuff. So, but to be clear, it would be the current agency, which is under Joe Biden's
That is correct. That is correct.
administration.
That
So,
is absolutely correct. Yeah, Joe Biden is running the federal government.
yep.
So, yes, that's correct.
So, like I said, all types of reactions. You get lots of outrage, and I think it gives platforms to some of the sadder corners of the internet. If you were to ask me, there's a famous provocateur, I'd say, on Twitter and anything else. His name is Andrew Tate, and he's been spewing a lot of stuff about how, oh, there shouldn't be women Secret Service because women can't protect men, and that's where this has led us, and this is unfortunately getting some traction. So if someone were to say, okay, we're going to only have men be doing this, or like, I'm sure, we have legal protections out there that stop that kind of discriminatory behavior and can shut these people up, basically.
Well, I mean, I'd have to consult with the Andrew Tate employment handbook and see what he has in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, putting that aside, yes, of course, we cannot, even for a job as important as a Secret Service officer, we cannot discriminate along the lines of gender, just in the same way we can't do it for the Army, a Navy SEAL, in very important jobs that require not only intelligence and quickness, but also physical acumen as well.
Hmm.
We cannot do it just because they're female. And I have to say, on all levels, this was a complete and total disaster. And I don't think we can blame just the three female officers we see in those very striking photographs of former President Trump,
Hmm.
bloodied and rising up from being protected. I think that many people are responsible, perhaps both female and male, definitely are responsible for this.
I would have to agree. Now, I going to hopefully a lighter note. The If you think about, when you see those memes of the domino effects of one thing
Yes.
happening and then the next.
Yeah.
So you have a person who barely misses Trump with a gun, and as a result, the band Tenacious D breaks up at the end of the day. So if you're not familiar, Tenacious D, that's Jack Black and Kyle Gass. Well, okay, so Tamara is cool. She knows who they are,
I
but
do know, and I did read how shocked
hmm.
Jack Black was at that moment and
Hmm.
that he pulled the plug, and their friendship, those two, go back decades, really. So this must have been a big traumatic breakup over the last 2 days. But yes, please, your question on it.
Right. Well, and also just to recap,
Yeah,
it was Kyle Gass's birthday. They brought a birthday cake up to him during a concert. They say make a wish, and he says, "Oh, I wish they won't miss Trump next time."
they wouldn't
Uh,
miss again next.
yeah, they
Yeah,
wouldn't miss again.
crazy,
So,
right?
yeah, I mean, in comedy, you swing and miss sometimes. It could be
Yeah.
a total he took a risk or he thought it was funny. I don't really know, but it freaked out Jack Black enough to cancel the rest of their tour dates, and it seems like the status of the band is in peril. Uh, so reactions, what is Jack Black defending? From a standpoint of managing, let's say, an entertainer or a celebrity, what is he protecting of himself by canceling these tours and distancing himself from that joke?
I mean, he's distancing himself from really a call to violence.
Hmm.
So we just spoke about how words matter, and
Hmm.
this is an instance where they don't miss next time,
Hmm.
means that the assassination actually happens, and that Donald Trump is hit at that, and and he's wishing it, like that's his
Hmm.
birthday
Hmm.
wish.
Right.
So even putting aside what someone no one could really in their right mind find that humorous,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
um, Donald Trump is a human being. At the end of the day, he's a father, he's
Hmm.
a husband. No one wants that to happen, especially gun violence, in the hands of a gun in the hands of a 20-year-old disturbed kid in this way,
Hmm.
in such a public setting where people were going to a political rally, and then they duck for cover, and
Yeah.
a father is protecting his children and dies.
I know. I wonder if it's the way people are so flippant online can kind of take away our sensitivities in person, like, oh,
Yeah.
it's people will tweet something or whatever, and it's kind of funny in that instance, but when you say it live in front of people, it was definitely a miss.
It was definitely a miss, and I think Jack Black had no choice really,
Mhm.
but
On the
to
and on the flip side, for Kyle, if he's saying it's so obviously in the setting of a comedy show, concert, it's a joke. No one could ever take this seriously. And let's say Jack Black, by doing this, is now killing his career and canceling his dates, and now he's losing all this money. I don't know. What would you say on the other end to to defend Kyle?
Well, I can't really defend Kyle, but I would
Right.
say too soon, Kyle, right? Too soon to make this joke. We as a society, we deal with distasteful jokes.
Hmm.
Um, I think that it was too soon. But I would advise him, look, everything is based on contract, right? So let's go back and look at your contract with Jack Black. Does Jack Black have the authority to
Mm.
pull the plug on your duo? Right? And just say, I'm not showing up anymore to these concerts. And does he owe you anything for it? Does he owe you damages? So that is what I would look at. Everything's in the contracts these days. So
Yep.
that's where I would go to see if Kyle has any leverage whatsoever.
Right. Very helpful. This was great, Tamar. Thank you so much. I believe there will be so much more coming from this case, and we hope to speak with you again. And then people watching, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and check us out on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you.
See you soon.